Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. This episode is brought to you by Bulgari Malta. Bulgari Malta has now launched its new aluminium luxury sports watch, which would make the perfect Christmas gift if you're still out there shopping. With that being said, let's move on to our 5 headlines for today. Ministry tells Malta's Book Council chairman to resign after Facebook spat with Jorgen Fennick's lawyer. Maltese massage parlor owner sentenced to 7 years in prison for refined slavery. Maltese man fined €20,000 for abusing 23 dogs. Every EU member will start vaccinating against COVID-19 on the same day. And the Maltese Stira is officially made it to the UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list. Julian?
Yeah, on to our first story. So Malta's Book Council chairman, Mark Camilleri, has been asked to resign by the Education Ministry following a spat with one of the lawyers of Jorgen Fennick, who is the main suspect in the assassination of journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia. Camilleri was asked to resign last night by permanent representative Frank Fabri from a post. He served 7 years the Camilleri sort of said he has no intention of resigning and plans to call the National Writers' Congress for a vote, see whether to confirm him or not, so support of his tenure. The issue all erupted after Camilleri publicly defended the public inquiry into the assassination, sort of saying anyone who's against it really just has a lot to hide, and he actually feels the public inquiry has served the public good, revealing truths that some of us actually didn't know. Juliet Gallia, one of Fennick's lawyers, replied to him, sort of saying that the public inquiry is breaching her client's rights, and sent him a letter that she had actually sent herself regarding the issue. Now, Camilleri rather crudely told her to shove it up, where, and proceeded to publish these chats on Facebook. He was eventually flagged for harassment and has now been blocked from posting for now, and was then asked to resign. The issue is quite complex. I don't know what you think about the J.
It's a Facebook feud that that got escalated because he had published it online, right? He had published a whole conversation, forcing the hands of those above him to intervene and obviously say something. Camilleri is a known critic of the Labour government, even though he's a Labour supporter himself, and he's quite outspoken, so it's not a surprise to me that he did publish these online, but obviously this Facebook feud escalated more than it should have, the classic Marxist Camilleri going against the capitalist Facebook with him getting banned from posting on there, but I think it's all a bit silly and trivial, to be honest with you. I obviously don't think he should resign because of it. He's in a position and he's known to be outspoken in his position. But it's up for him to hold a meeting today and see what the opinions of the council are in regards to this.
Yeah, and I just find there's a bit of a dichotomy between the government's actions now and the government's actions in the past. There are plenty of government representatives, let's not name names, who have been very rude to people on Facebook, been rude to activists, been quite aggressive to everyday people, and the government has been completely silent. Rather, actually not silent, they've defended them, saying this is their freedom of speech, right. They're allowed to express it when they want, and I wonder whether Camilleri was asked to resign, just because he's a critic of the Labour Party, and ironically enough, it comes from Justine Caruana herself, who has remained Education Minister despite her estranged husband's links to the murder itself. Maybe raising some questions why they made him resign in the first place.
No, absolutely. Moving on to our second story, a bit of a shocking one. A Maltese massage parlor owner has been sentenced to 7 years in prison for what the court defined was refined slavery. So basically, owner Winston Joseph Jera and his partner Xiang Tiangxi were yesterday found guilty of imprisonment for they were found guilty for human trafficking and exploitation of workers at their massage parlors. They were found guilty of keeping workers in conditions described as refined slavery by Magistrate Donatella Fendo de Mect. Basically, the situation is that in 2017, Jera and his partner brought over these couple of workers to work at the massage parlors. Upon arriving, they took their passports away from them, made them work long hours, made them live at the premise of the massage parlor, exploited them, and made them dress promiscuously and give sexual favors to their clients at these massage parlors. It's a rumor we all hear in Malta, but now this is confirmed that in some cases it's true. Without their passports and with being charged an additional tax by the JERA, the two employees were unable to liberate and free themselves. Eventually went to the police, accompanied by the Chinese ambassador of the Chinese embassy, and police investigated the situation, and now JERA and his partner have been found guilty and sentenced to 7 years imprisonment. It's in her ruling, Donatella Freno Demek said it was closely approached refined slavery, which is very, very shocking. But at the same time, it's kind of underrated. Everyone knows that these massage parlors are dodgy. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, no, exactly. As much as it's really positive seeing sort of a judgment like this handed out, personally, I do think it's a bit of an untouched issue in Malta. We see massage parlors on practically every street corner nowadays with little to no regulation. There was talk about changing, prostitution and massage parlor regulation, but that seems to, stopped with COVID. We haven't really heard much about it since. Refined slavery, as the magistrate court, I feel, is probably a common reality in Malta, not just limited to the massage parlor industry, to a number of industries where foreign migrant workers are being abused and exploited, and I think it's finally time to address it. We pride ourselves on maybe our like working class legislation and stuff like that, when really sometimes it seems we don't really care about the most vulnerable workers. On to our next story, also involving Magistrate Donatella Freno Demek. Quite a busy magistrate, it seems. So after a Maltese man was fined €20,000, handed a 2-year suspended sentence and a lifetime ban from owning dogs for mistreating 23 dogs at a residence in Hamrun. In August 2019, Animal Welfare seized 23 dogs from the home of Lewis Parch, and that included 7 Shih Tzus, 1 Maltese Terrier Cross, 15 Chihuahuas. The dogs, most of them were found in quite poor condition. Some of them included puppies. Quite a shocking story. That's at least quite a positive to see such a harsh judgment handed down. It's harsh in particularly because they handed him a lifetime ban from owning dogs. This is a rarity handed out. So sort of at least give some indication that the courts are ready to start maybe dealing with this issue head on. Issues do still remain, Jay. I mean, you've reported on this extensively. How about?
Yeah. Just a point to make. We kind of mentioned that we hope the courts kind of deal with this head on from now on. But it changes from magistrate to magistrate, and hopefully this creates awareness that magistrates can hand out this judgment that they can ban animals from can ban people from owning pets in the future, which is a significant thing, and which hasn't been exercised uniformly in the past. But like you had mentioned, this is animal abuse cases have cropped up over the years. Specifically this year, there's been a number of notorious cases. There's the one of the Zaytoun dog owner where eight dogs were found in disgusting conditions, missing eyes and whatnot. He hasn't been charged yet. There's a case of Andre Galia, the MC, the dog owner, who two of his dogs attacked and killed his grandmother. He has yet to be charged. He was given a good, clean bill of health by animal welfare prior to this happening. So it's very, there are these cases that really raise concern on how animal welfare is dealing with these cases and how they're going about in their inspections and stuff. But to see that some of them that come to court, and not a lot of them do, in fact most of them don't, but the ones that do, at least in this case, there's justice being handed out, and I think it's a fair sentence. It's a just sentence, and I know a lot of animal activists were working hard to see this go through. But with this case, he's just one of 5 people over the past 3 years that have been charged and sentenced for animal abuse. And knowing how many cases of animal abuse are out there, it's a very low number. Moving on to our fourth story, every EU member will start vaccinating against COVID-19 on the same day. This was a pledge EU Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen said yesterday. She took to Twitter to announce that this would be the case. In an act of solidarity, she wants all EU members to take the vaccine at the same time to kind of show mark the next chapter in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic and show a unified fight against it. that would obviously include Malta too, which is expected to also get the vaccine once the EU approves of the vaccine, which in this case is expected to be the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. In fact, the deadline or the date of approval has been pushed forward by 1 week, so expecting it to be approved in the EU by next Monday, hopefully. But obviously in other countries around the world, in the United Kingdom, for example, they've already started rolling out the vaccine. In the US, a couple of days ago, they started inoculating their population. Now it's up to the EU to approve the vaccine so that all EU member states can get it and start inoculating the population and turn the tide against the pandemic.
Yeah, no, it would be a positive step. In Malta, we're still fighting, the pandemic. The death toll is now at 180. I believe up to 3 more people died yesterday, and the active cases stands at 1719. Now, obviously, now with Christmas season approaching and everything, we still should be a bit careful to make sure, we don't come into the spread. And also keep in mind, be very hopeful that likely within the next few months we'll have a strong vaccination rollout in the country and things can start potentially returning a bit back to normal. Quite a positive stop, so let's hope for better news in the future.
Absolutely.
On to our last story. I'm sure it's going to make you hungry, especially if you haven't had breakfast yet, like myself. The Maltese Tira has been recognized as an intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO. Quite big news for, I think, Maltese people out there. Everyone loves a good stira, for all our bakers who actually do such a good job at baking that bread. It's actually the end of a story. There's been a review years in the making. We've always had rumblings about the cultural ministry trying to put it on the list. It's the first one to do so. There are other things still up for nomination, things like Maltese lace, folk singing, with Joe Mike, and Leiden winning Malta's Got Talent. Maybe that will get a bit more of a push. And embroidery with golden thread and other baked doughs. Quite positive news. On maybe a bit of a critical note, I hope that now the Maltese Tira has given this honour, maybe our bakers, our local bakers, will start getting some much needed support from the government. Yeah. At the moment, our local bakers are a bit of a dying breed, and supermarkets and larger chains are sort of eating them out of their profits by supplying them a large amount. So hopefully it will wake up the government to give them at least a bit more support. I'm sure they've suffered themselves during the pandemic.
Yeah, it's actually quite significant news when you think about it. I mean, it wasn't just listed on it, it was the first item to be listed on the list. And to have it on the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List is expected to kind of boost Malta's appeal as a tourist destination, to attract more high-quality tourists, and hopefully help recover the economy after the pandemic. So it's quite a nice feat, a good achievement, but it's also quite significant and could be quite beneficial for our country in the future, for our bakers and for our tourist economy. With that being said, that brings us to the end of the episode. Don't forget, this episode is sponsored by Bulgari Malta, who have just launched their aluminium luxury sports watch, and we just got a quick video from them now. Also, just a reminder that Lovin Malta will be going live again at 10 a.m. with a virtual business breakfast discussing yesterday's World Economic Forum report with a special focus on Malta's competitive edge. Also, be sure to check out Lovin Malta's new documentary, which will be launched soon, about the first vice, a deep dive into Roberta Metsola as the Vice President of the EU Parliament, correct?
Yeah, yes.
And we've got a quick trailer of that just now to get you hyped up.
Mela, let me get into the table. Boys, it's dinner time. Come, Aya.
Mommy, come.
I want to get out of this idea that Malta is small.
Aħjana naqra maskara, nanna dejjem kien ifajli qatt toħroġ mid-dar mingħajr il-makeup.
I didn't think that I would have been at any point addressing your group for the position of Vice President.
When you come to this parliament, you have a choice. It's about leaving your mark.
It's not long. 24 hours is too much at a fortnight.
Gives us a voice that is louder than our country has had before.
This has been my comfort food. Li mintu kont żgħira jien mill-gżira u kull meta jkolli bżonn niċċelebra xi ħaġa hawnhekk.
Ho ricevuto la candidatura dell'onorevole Mezzola, proposta dal gruppo Popolare.
I was ready to do it, right? Because I felt that it was my responsibility also to do it.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Lovin Daily. Just a reminder that this episode is brought to you by Bulgari Malta, who have just rolled out their aluminium luxury sports watches. And with that being said, have a day full of lovin'.